The Argentine Navy or Navy of the Argentine Republic or Armada of the Argentine Republic is the Navy of Argentina. It is one of the three branches of the armed forces of the Argentine Republic, together with the Army and the Air Force. Each ship of the Argentine Navy is designated with the prefix ARA before its name. The Argentine Navy Day is celebrated on May 17th. Anniversary of the victory achieved in 1814 in the Battle of Montevideo over the Spanish fleet during the War of Independence. History: 19th century. The Argentine Navy was created in the aftermath of the May Revolution of May 25, 1810, which started the War for Independence from Spain. The first navy was created to support Manuel Belgrano at the Paraguay campaign, but it was sunk by ships from Montevideo, and did not take part in that conflict. Renewed conflicts with Montevideo led to the creation of a second one, which captured the city. As Buenos Aires had little maritime history, most men in the Navy were from other nations, such as the Irish-born Admiral William Brown, who directed the operation. As the cost of maintaining a navy was too high, most of the Argentine naval forces were composed of privateers. Brown led the Argentine Navy in further naval conflicts at the war with Brazil and the Anglo-French blockade of the Rio de la Plata. In the 1870s, the Argentine Navy began modernizing itself. At the close of the century, the force included 5 armored cruisers, 4 coastal defense ironclads, 3 second-class, high-speed, British-built cruisers, 7 modern small cruisers and gunboats, 4 destroyers and 22 torpedo boats. The most powerful ships included the Italian-built Garibaldi and her sister ships, General Belgrano, Puerdin, and San Martin, each at over 6,000 tons. 3 older ironclads, Almirante Brown, Independencia, and Libertad, dated from the 1880s and early 1890s. The Navy's ships were built primarily in Italy, Britain, France, and Spain and were operated by over 600 officers and 7,760 seamen. These were supported by a battalion of Marines and an artillery battery. 20th century Argentina remained neutral in both world wars. In 1940, Argentina's navy was ranked the 8th most powerful in the world and the largest in Latin America. A 10-year building program costing $60 million had produced a force of 14,500 sailors and over 1,000 officers. The fleet included 2 First World War-era American-built, Rivadavia-class battleships, 3 modern cruisers, a dozen British-built destroyers, and 3 submarines in addition to mine-layers, minesweepers, coastal defense ships, and gunboats. A naval air force was also in operation. In the post-war period, Naval Aviation and Marine Corps units were put under direct Navy command. With Brazil, Argentina is one of 2 South American countries to have operated 2 aircraft carriers effectively: the ARA Independencia and ARA 25 de Mayo. The Argentine Navy has been traditionally greatly involved in fishery inspection, helping the Coast Guard. Most notably in 1966, a destroyer fired on and holed a Soviet trawler that had refused to be escorted to Mar del Plata. In the 1970s there were 4 more incidents with Soviet and Bulgarian ships and continued in recent years. The Navy also took part in all military coups through the 20th century. During the last dictatorship, Navy personnel were involved in the dirty war of the late 1970s, in which thousands of people were kidnapped, tortured and killed by the forces of the military junta. The Naval Mechanics School, known as ESMA, was a notorious center for torture. Among their more well-known victims were the Swedish teenager Dagmar Hagelin and French nuns, Alice Domon and Léonie Duquette. During this regime, the Navy was also the main supporter of a military solution for the country's 2 long-standing disputes. the Beagle conflict with Chile, and the Falkland Islands with the United Kingdom. Falklands War. During the 1982 Falklands conflict, termed by the Argentines Guerra de las Malvinas, Guerra del Atlántico Sur, the main Argentine naval fleet consisted of modernized World War II-era ships supported with new ones. This fleet was supported by several Elma tankers and transports, as well as 2 icebreakers, polar ships. The new German-design MEKO-class destroyers, corvettes and Thyssen-Nordsee worker submarines were still under construction, despite leading the invasion of the Falkland Islands. In both strategic and tactical aspects, the Argentine fleet played only a small part in the subsequent conflict with the Royal Navy. After HMS Conqueror sank the ARA General Belgrano, the Argentine surface fleet did not venture from a 12-mile coastal limit imposed by the British due to the threat posed by the Royal Navy fleet of nuclear-powered submarines. The Argentine Navy's contributions to the war were among the initial amphibious assaults on 2 and 3 April, with Naval Aviation its Exocet-armed Super 8 Hondards sinking Sheffield and the Atlantic Conveyor, its A4Q Skyhawks sinking HMS Ardent, and the Marines, with the 5th Marine Corps Battalion defending Mount Tumbledown. In addition, the Type 42 destroyer ARA Santissima Trinidad, operating off Staten Island, played an important part in the destruction of the British landing ship Sir Galahad on 8 June, and a land-based Exocet battery outside Port Stanley scored a direct hit on HMS Glamorgan on 11 June, and a Marine Tiger Cat Sam put out of action a Royal Air Force Harrier on 12 June. Naval Aviation also carried out intensive maritime patrols searching to locate the British fleet for the strike aircraft and British submarines for the anti-submarine Sea King helicopters, while their Lockheed L-188 Electra and Fokker F-28 fellowship transports reinforced the Port Stanley garrison and evacuated the wounded. The ARA San Luis submarine also played a strategic role, nearly sinking the frigate HMS Arrow on 10 May, although she scored no hits. The submarine ARA Santa Fe, after a successful resupply mission, was attacked and disabled off South Georgia, where her crew then surrendered along with the Argentine detachment at Grytviken. She was later scuttled by the British. Aftermath of the Falklands War. The core of the fleet was reformed with the retirement of all the World War II-era Fletcher and Gearing class destroyers and their replacement with the MEKO 360 and 140 classes designed by the German shipyard Blohm plus Voss. Also, the Submarine Force greatly reinforced their assets with the introduction of the Thyssen-Nordsee Worker class. Although the original program called for 6 units with the last 4 to be built in Argentina, only the 2 built in Germany were delivered. The amphibious force was drastically affected with the retirement of their only LST landing ship Aerocabo San Antonio and replacement by a modified cargo vessel, the ARA Bahia San Blas. This situation was to be improved during 2006 with the delivery made by France of the first of the LPD Uragan-class landing platform docks, but the whole operation was placed in stand by the Argentine government due to asbestos concerns. On 2010, France offered the Foudry instead. France also transferred the Durance, now ARA Patagonia, multi-product replenishment ship enhancing the capabilities of the fleet. In 1988, the A4Q Skyhawks were withdrawn, leaving the Super 8 Hondard as the only fighter jets in the Navy inventory. The already paid-for A4Hs bought in Israel as their replacement could not be delivered due to the embargo imposed by the United States after the war. Instead, IAI used the money to refurbish the S2E trackers to the S2T Turbo Tracker current variant. In the 1990s, the embargo was lifted and the Lockheed L-188 Electras were finally retired and replaced with similar P-3B Orions, and civilian Beechcraft King Air Model 200 were locally converted to the MP variant. In 2000, the aircraft carrier Ara 25 de Mayo was decommissioned without replacement. Although the Navy maintains the air group of Super 800 jets and S-2 trackers that routinely operates from Brazilian Navy aircraft carrier São Paulo ARAX Video or United States Navy carriers when they are in transit in the South Atlantic during Gringo Gaucho maneuvers. Gulf War and 90s. Argentina was the only Latin American country to participate in the 1991 Gulf War, sending a destroyer and a corvette in first term and a supply ship and another corvette later to participate on the United Nations blockade and sea control effort of the Gulf. The success of Operation Alfa, as it was known, with more than 700 interceptions and 25,000 miles sailed on the operations theater, helped to overcome the so-called Malvinas syndrome. From 1990 to 1992, the Baradero-class patrol boats were deployed under UN mandate ONUCA to the Gulf of Fonseca in Central America. In 1994, the three Drummond-class corvettes participated on Operation Uphold Democracy in Haiti, 21st century, and today in 2003, for the first time, the Argentine Navy interoperated with an United States Navy battle group when destroyer Ara Sarandi joined the US Enterprise Carrier Strike Group, and destroyer Squadron 18 as a part of Exercise Solid Step during their tour in the Mediterranean Sea. In 2010, the construction start of 4 1,800-ton offshore patrol ships was announced, but no keel has ever been laid down. Also in May 2010, Defense Minister Nilda Guerra announced that the Navy would continue working on a system that would enable the launch of Exocet missiles from the Navy's P-3 Orion aircraft. In addition, the financing of the local development and construction of a coastal naval defense system that may also be based on the use of Exocet missiles, similar to the Excalibur system. In October 2012, the Navy's sail training ship Ara Libertad was seized under court order in Ghana by creditors of Argentina's debt default in 2002. On 15 December 2012, the UN International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea ruled unanimously that the ship had immunity as a military vessel, and ordered that Ghana should forthwith and unconditionally release the frigate Ara Libertad. 4 days later, Libertad was released from Timor and arrived to the port of Mar del Plata on 9 January 2013. Structure: the Argentine Navy participates in joint exercises with other friendly navies like Brazil, United States, Spain, France, Canada, South Africa, Italy, Uruguay, and since the 1990s, Chile. They are also routinely held in order to develop a common operational doctrine. Every year, in conjunction with the Chilean Navy, the Argentine Navy participate in the Patrella Antarctica Naval Combinada to guarantee safety to all touristic and scientific ships that are in transit within the Antarctic Peninsula, where the Navy is also directly responsible of maintaining the Argentine bases there. The Argentine Navy has 4 main commands: High Seas Fleet, Submarine Force, Naval Aviation, and Naval Infantry. Current fleet: Puerto Belgrano Naval Base is the largest naval base of the Argentine Navy, situated next to Punta Alta, near Bahia Blanca, about 700 kilometers south of Buenos Aires. Most of the fleet is based there. The Argentine Navy is underfunded and struggling to meet maintenance and training requirements. As a result, only 15 out of a total of 42 Navy vessels are in a condition to sail. The 2013 defense budget allowed for the 15 operational vessels to each spend less than 11 days at sea, while the submarines averaged just over 6 hours submerged in the whole of 2012. Aura Espora spent 73 days in late 2012 stranded in South Africa for lack of spares. The Almirante Brown-class destroyers are short of spares and their ordnance has expired, while the Antarctic patrol ship Ara Almirante Irizar has been under repair since a fire in 2007. On 23 January 2013, the Type 42 destroyer Argentine Trinidad sank at her moorings, having been mothballed for 10 years. Submarine Force. The Argentine Submarine Force was first created when the Navy first started using submarines in 1927. As of 2013, the force is headquartered at Mar del Plata. The Elite Tactical Divers Group is also under the Submarine Force command structure, among its assets of 3 submarines and 2 auxiliary support vessels. Naval Aviation. The Naval Aviation Command is abbreviated CONE and is one of 2 South American countries to have operated 2 aircraft carriers. Naval Infantry. The Infanteria de Marina de la Armada de la República Argentina is the land warfare amphibious branch of the Argentine Navy. Argentine Marines have the same rank, insignia and titles as the rest of the Navy, and they are currently deployed abroad on UN mandates. Other branches. The Servicio de Hidrografía Naval provides the National Hydrographic Services. Ranks. Officer's rank insignia consists of a variable number of gold braid stripes worn on the sleeve cuffs or on shoulderboards. Officers may be distinguished by the characteristic loop of the top stripe. Combat uniforms may include metal pin-on or embroidered collar. Rank insignia. Rank insignia is worn on the chest when in shipboard or flying coveralls. Officers are commissioned in either the Command Corps or the Staff Corps. The Line Corps is divided into 3 branches: the Naval Branch, the Marine Corps Branch, and Executive Engineering Branch. Line Corps reserve officers are considered restricted line officers in any of the warfare communities, and can only raise to a 4 rank. All Line Corps officers wear distinctive branch, sub-branch insignia on the right breast. Some Staff Corps officers also wear specialization badges. Other common insignia is the Naval War College insignia, parachute wings, etc., also worn on the right breast. Medals and ribbons, if awarded, are worn on the left breast, just above the chest pocket. The rank insignia of Staff Corps officers is placed over a background color denoting the wearer's field, such as purple, blue, red, white, green, brown and gray. The background color for Command Corps officers is navy blue, black. Grooming. Following a global trend, Argentine armed forces have prohibited beards since the 1920s. This was reinforced in the Cold War era when they were deemed synonymous with leftist leanings. The only exception were Antarctic service within the 3 armed forces as a protection from cold weather, and submarine service within the Navy as a way of saving water. However, shaving was mandatory upon return to headquarters. Before the end of the 20th century, the Navy became a singularity within the Argentine Armed Forces as ADM. Joaquin Stella, then Navy Chief of Staff, allowed beards in 2000 for officers with ranks above Teniente de Corbeta. According to Section 1.10.1.1 of the Navy Uniform Regulations, ADM. Stella gave the example himself by becoming the first bearded Argentine admiral since ADM. Science Valianter in the 1920s. Non-commissioned officers can wear beards from sub-official segundo rank and upwards. Protocol still requires officers to appear clean-shaved on duty, thus forcing those who choose to sport beards to grow them while on leave. Both full beards and goatees are allowed, as long as they proffer a professional, non-eccentric image. Nowadays, bearded Argentine naval officers and senior NCOs are a relatively common sight. Enlisted men and non-commissioned officers. Other ranks insignia is worn on either shoulderboards or breast or sleeve patches. Seamen and seaman recruits wear their insignia on their sleeves. The shoulderboards denote the wearer's specialty.